Which topic are you here for?
Yeah, specifically the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have an argument for the prop.
Sure. I'm going to put a timer. Okay, so basically I just use a standard to determine the kinds of actions that are good and bad, and that standard is going to be human flourishing. It seems to be the case that abortion is a detriment to human flourishing, so it would just kind of follow that it would be wrong.
Okay, and what's the argument for human flourishing having any impact on the moral domain?
Yeah, so I think that, there's an inference to be made that when you look at the normative frameworks that people hold, they all tend to bottom out in human flourishing. So it seems to be the case that, when it comes to normativity and the things that people care about and the moral systems that people use, it all has one thing in common, right? Human flourishing.
Well, I can't tell if that begs the question, but it just sounds like you're begging the question, right? Because one, I wouldn't grant that all or even the majority of moral frameworks will bottom out in human flourishing. Secondly, I don't even know why that would even serve as justificatory towards like human flourishing even having any type of moral value.
I don't see.
It doesn't seem like that actually substantiates your position at all.
Well, I don't see how it's begging the question. I'm not really sure what the objection is.
Yeah. Well, it seems like begging the question because your reasoning was, well, all these other moral frameworks bottom out in human flourishing, so then mine is going to bottom out in human flourishing. But the point, what I'm asking you specifically for is an argument that the moral domain, like moral value is held in human flourishing at all. And it just sounds like you just repeated the claim, which is just that the moral domain does somehow bottom out in human flourishing, right? Which is just the same as saying that there's some moral value to be held there. Right, but I just want the argument in favor of the proposition that human flourishing, there's moral value to be held in human flourishing, or at least that the standard by which we should judge these types of things is whether or not it affects our eudaimonia.
Well, I didn't mention eudaimonia. I don't know if there's an assumption being made.
I think eudaimonia can be used in the same sense as like human flourishing, right? Like that's literally how Aristotle would understand eudaimonia. Like he even says it's the greatest good.
On what I mean by human flourishing, because it seems like you've come here with a preconceived notion of what my argument is. I haven't mentioned Aristotle and I haven't mentioned eudaimonia. So
I'm saying the way Aristotle understands eudaimonia is just human flourishing, and he takes that to be something that has moral value, right? If that's not,
you don't know that,
is that not what you're talking about?
Flourishing in the same way as Aristotle, though. That's my point.
I take human flourishing to just be whatever's good for humankind's well-being, or whatever has a positive impact on humankind's well-being.
Like that. Yeah.
Is that the definition you're using?
Okay, let me just be clear on what's happening here, right?
Wait, I just want a yes or no to that. Is that the definition you're using? Because if so, we can cut out all the confusion.
Look, I'm not going to have a debate with you like this, where you're like going to just assume everything that I say, and then you want to hammer on nitpick each individual thing. Like, I already don't want to debate anyone from KG. I'm doing this because it wouldn't be fair for me to just drop you based on your friends' reputations. But I don't want to do this whole thing. Okay, so let's be clear. Do you disagree? Do you disagree that human flourishing is normative at all?
We're at a point right now where I'm specifically trying to understand what you mean by human flourishing. I told you that I take human flourishing. Wait, I'm not finished speaking, right? You see how I don't want to interrupt you, and I would, assume that you should do the same, correct? So I'm at a very specific point right now where I'm trying to understand what you mean by human flourishing. And I gave you an understanding of human flourishing. And all I'm asking you is this what you take human flourishing to be? Right? It's really simple.
Yeah, I think well-being is certainly part of human flourishing, but I think there are other aspects to it as well.
Okay, so then what would you understand human flourishing to be then?
So well-being is certainly part of it, right? Supporting and facilitating the different degrees of well-being that you have is contributory to human flourishing. But I think the other part of it is when it comes to proper functioning, I think when you're properly functioning, that's also contributing to your flourishing.
I think proper functioning just is that is part of well-being though. Like, do you agree with that? At least, like, if you're functioning properly, that's just a positive impact on your well-being, right? Which is just the same as saying that, like, we can just cut out all the extra talk there and just say human flourishing is just whatever's good for the well-being, because it doesn't seem like there's any symmetry breaker between what I'm saying and what you're saying there, because that just is something that positively affects the well-being. And okay, so that's what you take human flourishing to be. Okay, cool. So now we need an argument for the type of how do I say this, human-centric or anthrocentric account or understanding how there's any type of moral value held there. right?
Can I
Because you
ask really quick if you actually disagree with it, or are you just simply asking me for the argument for it?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think there's any, like, I personally disagree. I wouldn't grant it at least. But given that you made the claim, I'm just asking, do you have an argument?
Yeah, that's fine. I just like typically I just want to make sure that it's something that you truly disagree with, because I'm not interested in the like I'm just going to ask you for an argument for the sake of asking you for an argument. You know what I mean? So you like honestly disagree that human
Well, I
flourishing
think
is normative?
even if it were the case that I would agree with you here, I think even just in virtue of like the standard debate norms, it just seems like you would still have the burden to prove it. No, but like
Yeah.
I do disagree though. To be clear, I don't think that's relevant though. I just want the argument.
No, that's
Like,
fine.
you haven't given me an
The
argument.
reason why I mention it is because there's a very specific reason why I do these lives and the way that I run them. Like if we're doing like a debate for sport to just simply analyze each other's arguments and test each other's philosophy, like that's for a different place. Like the live here is to talk to like normal people and have honest conversations about the topics on the screen, which is why like I'm not interested in people who wouldn't disagree, for example, for the
You
sake
haven't
of
given me an
debate
argument
sport.
though. Like this is all irrelevant to the point, which is just I want the argument. Like you still haven't given me the argument. Like if we just look back on the debate, you made the claim that abortion is wrong in virtue of the fact that it has a negative impact on human flourishing, right? Obviously, you're saying that there's some moral value to be held there in terms of the human flourishing. I just want the argument. Like it's been like about 5 consecutive minutes where you haven't given me the argument. So do you have one or no? Because I think you're trying to do this
Do you remember what I said earlier?
Yeah, about how most moral frameworks bottom out in flourishing, and I told you I didn't see how that was justificatory towards the prop, and you somehow slid past that point, didn't address it. But I just want the argument because it didn't seem like that argument that you gave earlier was obviously invalid. If that was the argument, like I don't even think that's a cogent induction. Like if you're trying to make an induction, but it's an invalid argument, and I didn't want to like call that out yet because I thought maybe you had an actual non-invalid argument.
Are you asking for a syllogism?
No, it doesn't have to be a syllogism. You can use natural language.
Okay, look, when we're talking about what human flourishing is, you know, in layman's terms, that would mean that their life is going well or doing well. You know what I mean? It could mean something like health or meaningful relationships or...
We already got past this point, though. Like, I just want the argument. We don't need to reflect back on what human flourishing is. You already explained that to me. And I told you that I
I'm using that
agreed.
as context, right? So that's part of my response. Okay?
Okay. So part of your response is just to redefine it when we already had a definition? Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, this is why I don't want to do this, because this is so disingenuous.
Wait, you think I'm being disingenuous? I'm actually not being disingenuous. Like, I'm literally, that was just an observation. But if you don't have an argument, it's fine. Like, I can further just press you on the empirical claim. And then that's like, we can go down that avenue either as well.
Look,
like, if you
when we think about what is a good human life, right? All of the characteristics of human flourishing fall into what you and I both agree a good human life is, right? Like you would agree with me, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. You would agree with me that a good human life would mean having positive social relationships. A good human life would be having being healthy biologically, right? All of those things are what you and I, where most people would consider to be a good human life. And all of those things are contributory to human flourishing. Do you disagree that being healthy or having positive social relationships would contribute to a good human life?
If you're speaking morally, no. But if you're speaking prudentially, then yeah. I think there's a distinction to be made between prudential reasons and moral reasons. At least in the sense that when we say there's like something that's positive towards a human life, we can just be speaking prudentially there, right? Whereas you want to say that there's some moral value, like in the moral domain, right? I don't see how you're getting to that. Like you still haven't given me an argument. Like you're just asking me questions.
Okay, me asking you a question is to like further the understanding of the debate. Before I asked you the question, I also gave you like another layer of reasoning. Okay.
But this still isn't an argument though, which is my point, right? Like when you ask me these questions, presumably, unless you're doing like some weird Socratic method where you're trying to show some inconsistency in the contrary view, given that I disagree, I don't see how this is even trying to give me something to justify it. Like I can grant like pretty much everything you said so far about like how like when we conceptualize of a good life, obviously we can be talking prudentially, but even if it's the case that we're not talking prudentially, and when we think of a good life, we're thinking of something that has like positive flourishing, I think our conception could be like an error in regards to the moral domain, where we're conceptualizing of something that's we would consider good, but that's not what's actually good in the moral domain.
What would you
So like even if I said yes to that question, it still doesn't justify what the proposition.
So what would you consider like what would your position be in this sense? Because I'm trying to like further my understanding of this, right?
My
So you're saying that this is not.
My position is that I don't grant this type of anthrocentric understanding of the moral domain, and I'm just asking for an argument for that. And you have failed to provide me one. This is why you're losing. Like
I
you're literally
don't see
losing
this as
because
a win or lose situation because, like I said, the
well, I'm not
purpose of this
positive
live is not for debate sport, right? I don't give a shit about winning or losing. The point of this live is to have, conversations, right, about opposing
I think you
views.
can lose conversations as well. Like even if we take this
Yeah,
as a
I would
friendly
disagree.
conversation, you're losing. Like if we just look at who's winning on the points objectively speaking, like I think I'm winning, and the reason for that is because you've had about 10 minutes to like where you have a burden and you have yet to fulfill the burden.
Look, if it makes you feel better to see that you're winning, congratulations, you've won. If that helps you sleep at night, then I'm so happy for you, okay? I really don't care about winning or losing. If you want to say that I've lost and go tell all your friends and record this and say, oh my gosh, I beat BoBo and she lost, go for it. I don't care. If that helps your mental health, I'm perfectly happy for you.
But even,
I'm not interested in having like sport Philbro debate on this live. There are other lives for you to do that right now.
Okay, but the point just is that even if it's the case that you're losing, we're still not having a productive convo just because you haven't given me the argument. So like even if you take this as a convo, you're not giving me we're not having a very productive conversation.
I think it's productive. I mean, I'm happy to move on if you'd like, but I'm not interested in the like sport situation.
Okay, well, to be clear, you didn't have an argument in favor of the prop. You tried to give me an argument, failed.
This is what I'm talking about. You're like trying to project to the audience because you care so much about winning.
Yeah.
If you care so much about winning, like go do it for sport somewhere else. Okay, this is not a competition. Okay, there's no winning or losing here. If you care so much about winning, I think you need to explore inside yourself why you need the validation of the audience. Okay, but that's
okay. Well,
you
you conceded. There's nothing else to be said. Have a nice day, man.
Yeah, you have a nice day too.